The television screens across Earth flickered with the same image. Massive black ships hanging motionless above major cities like storm clouds that refused to break. President Williams sat in the Oval Office, his hands trembling as he read the ultimatum that had been broadcast in perfect English from the alien fleet. Surrender completely or watch every major population center burn within the hour. 3 months had passed since that terrible morning, and the world had learned to live under alien rule. The Vex Empire, as they called themselves, had established orbital stations that blotted out portions of the sky. Their insectoid forms skittered through the halls of human governments, clicking mandibles as they issued orders for mineral extraction and population control. The reptilian Vorth served as enforcers, their scaled hands never far from weapons that could vaporize a human with a single pulse. Commander Kreese of the Vex had made himself comfortable in what used to be the United Nations building. His compound eyes surveyed holographic displays showing Earth's resources being systematically stripped away. Ocean water disappeared into massive collection ships. Mountains were carved hollow by mining drones. The humans below went about their restricted lives in designated zones. Apparently broken by the overwhelming display of alien superiority, what Kreese didn't know was that 500 feet beneath his feet, Admiral Stone walked through corridors that didn't exist on any building schematic. The secret levels of the UN building connected to a network of tunnels that stretched across continents. These passages had been built over decades by a shadow organization that had been preparing for this exact scenario since the first radio. Signals from deep space had been detected. Dr. Emily Brooks adjusted her glasses as she studied the alien power cell that lay disassembled on her workbench. The crash site in Nevada had been officially listed as a military training accident, but the wreckage had provided her team with their first real look at Vex technology. The energy source was elegant in its simplicity, using quantum fluctuations to generate power that human science had only theorized about. "Have you figured out how to replicate it yet?" Admiral Stone asked as he entered the underground laboratory. "Better than that," Brooks replied, holding up a device that looked like a fusion of human circuitry and alien crystal formations. "I've figured out how to improve it. Their technology is advanced but rigid. They build everything to exact specifications and never deviate. That's going to be their weakness." Above ground, the world watched as President Williams signed another document transferring Earth's remaining oil reserves to alien control. The ceremony was broadcast globally, showing a defeated leader bowing to insectoid masters. What the cameras didn't show was the slight nod Williams gave to a Secret Service agent, or the way that agent's hand briefly touched a communication device hidden in his jacket. The signal traveled through fiber optic cables buried deep underground, reaching command centers that the Vex scanners had never detected. In these hidden facilities, thousands of Earth's brightest minds worked around the clock. Engineers studied alien hull compositions while physicists unlocked the secrets of their shield technology. Biologists analyzed Vex genetic samples, looking for vulnerabilities that could be exploited. Captain Ray Foster stood in one of these secret facilities, watching as surgical robots made precise modifications to his skeletal structure. The alien biotechnology they had recovered allowed for enhancements that would have been impossible with human science alone. His bones were being reinforced with a crystalline matrix that would let him survive in the vacuum of space. His nervous system was being rewired to process information at superhuman speeds. "The modifications will take 6 hours to complete," the lead surgeon explained. "When you wake up, you'll be the first of a new kind of soldier. One designed specifically to fight aliens who think they know everything about human limitations." Across the planet, similar transformations were taking place. The aliens had divided humanity into manageable population centers, but those centers were connected by a vast underground network that had been decades in the making. Every surrender, every act of apparent compliance was actually part of a larger strategy that the Vex couldn't comprehend. In the Australian facility, teams of metallurgists worked with alien materials to create alloys that could withstand temperatures that would melt conventional spacecraft. In the Siberian complex, Computer specialists studied the quantum entanglement systems that allowed instant communication across galactic distances. Every piece of alien technology that fell into human hands was reverse-engineered and improved. Upon the Vex had made a fundamental error in their assessment of humanity. They had conquered dozens of worlds using the same strategy, demonstrate overwhelming superiority. Accept surrender from the local government, then systematically strip the planet of resources while relocating the population to labor colonies. It had worked on every world they had encountered because most species fought conventionally and lost quickly, but humans were different in ways the aliens couldn't understand. Every defeat in human history had been followed by adaptation and improvement. Every conquered civilization had eventually found ways to overcome their conquerors. The Vex saw submission where they should have seen preparation. Commander Kreese reviewed reports from his mining operations with satisfaction. Earth's oceans were being processed efficiently, and the mineral extraction from the continental plates was ahead of schedule. The human population remained docile in their designated zones, apparently accepting their fate as a conquered species. His superiors would be pleased with the progress. He dismissed the occasional reports of equipment malfunctions in remote areas. Primitive planets always had unexpected challenges, and the losses were within acceptable parameters. The missing transport ships were probably the result of human pirates trying to steal alien technology. Such desperate acts were common among newly conquered species and would be dealt with in time. What Kreese didn't realize was that every malfunction and every missing ship was part of a carefully orchestrated intelligence operation. Humans weren't stealing alien technology randomly. They were conducting precise, surgical strikes to acquire specific components needed for their own technological development. Each successful operation brought them closer to the moment when they would reveal their true nature. The world continued to watch their leaders bow and scrape before alien masters, not knowing that beneath their feet humanity was building something that would make the Vex Empire's technology look like stone tools. The age of human submission was ending, though the aliens wouldn't realize it until Earth's fury finally burned across the skies above them. 6 months into the occupation, strange reports began filtering through Vex communication networks. Mining drones in the Pacific had stopped responding to commands, their quantum signatures vanishing from tracking systems as if they had simply ceased to exist. Communication relays positioned across Earth's continents experienced brief but troubling blackouts that lasted exactly 97 seconds before mysteriously restoring themselves. Commander Kreese dismissed these incidents as the expected friction of managing a primitive world. His engineering staff assured him that such problems were normal during the early phases of planetary exploitation. The indigenous population was probably attempting crude sabotage efforts that would eventually be eliminated through increased security measures. What Kreese didn't understand was that every blackout, every missing drone, every system malfunction was being orchestrated by an enemy he couldn't see. Deep beneath the Sahara Desert, Dr. Brooks had established what she called the Nexus, a computer system that existed partially in normal space and partially in quantum dimensions that the Vex couldn't monitor. The Nexus had taken months to build, combining human programming techniques with alien quantum processing power. It could infiltrate Vex networks without triggering their security protocols because it operated on principles that alien programmers had never encountered. Where Vex systems used rigid logical pathways, the Nexus employed chaotic human creativity that appeared random but followed patterns too complex for alien minds to detect. Captain Foster moved through the abandoned subway tunnels beneath New York with fluid grace that would have seemed impossible for a human body. The alien biotechnology integrated into his system allowed him to see in complete darkness and move without making sound. His enhanced reflexes could process information faster than Vex sensors could track, making him effectively invisible to their monitoring equipment. His team consisted of 12 soldiers, who had undergone similar modifications. They emerged from hidden passages in the tunnel walls, their movements synchronized through quantum communication implants that the aliens couldn't intercept. Each soldier carried weapons that appeared to be crude human firearms but were actually hybrid devices that fired projectiles, designed to exploit specific weaknesses in Nex armor. Target is the orbital communication relay 3 miles above Times Square, Foster whispered into his throat microphone. Dr. Brooks needs a direct connection to upload the next phase of her virus. We have a 17-minute window before the next security sweep. The team moved through Manhattan's underground infrastructure with practiced efficiency. The city above them continued its apparent normal routine under alien supervision, but beneath the streets a shadow war was being fought that the invaders couldn't comprehend. Every sewer system, every abandoned building, every forgotten basement had been converted into part of humanity's hidden military network. Foster's soldiers climbed through an elevator shaft that officially led to an office building but actually concealed a vertical launch tube extending far above the city's skyline. The tube was shielded by technology that bent electromagnetic radiation around itself, making it invisible to alien sensors. At its apex sat a human-built transmitter that could punch through Nex communication networks without being detected. Meanwhile, in the Australian facility, General Thompson reviewed intelligence reports that painted a picture the aliens couldn't see. Every Vex ship that had disappeared hadn't been destroyed. It had been captured intact and transported to hidden facilities where human engineers dissected alien technology piece by piece. The crews of these vessels had been taken prisoner and were providing information about Vex military capabilities and weaknesses. Their ships are more vulnerable than they realize, Dr. Liu explained as she showed Thompson holographic displays of alien vessel schematics. They build everything around quantum shield generators that are incredibly powerful but have a fundamental flaw. The shields operate by phase-shifting matter, but they can't maintain coherence if you hit them with precisely modulated electromagnetic pulses. Thompson nodded as he studied the data. His background in asymmetric warfare had taught him that superior technology could always be defeated by superior strategy. The aliens had made the mistake of assuming that technological advantage guaranteed victory, but they had never faced an enemy that could adapt and improve faster than they could respond. The underground cities had grown beyond anything the surface world could imagine. Beneath major population centers, humanity had carved out spaces that rivaled alien orbital stations in complexity and capability. These facilities operated on power sources that Dr. Brooks had developed by combining human nuclear technology with alien energy manipulation techniques. The results were reactors that burned cleaner and hotter than anything in the known galaxy. They generated enough energy to power manufacturing facilities that operated 24 hours a day, producing weapons and equipment designed specifically to counter Vex advantages. Every day brought new breakthroughs as human creativity merged with alien science to create hybrid technologies that neither species could have developed alone. Foster's team reached their objective as Vex patrol ships passed overhead, their sensors sweeping the city for signs of human resistance activity. The soldiers remained motionless until the alien vessels moved on, then quickly deployed their transmission equipment. Dr. Brooks' virus began uploading into the orbital relay, disguised as routine maintenance data that would spread through the entire Vex communication network. The virus was a work of art disguised as simple computer code. It appeared to be primitive human malware that barely functioned, but its true purpose was far more sophisticated. Every time it replicated itself through alien systems, it gathered intelligence about Vex capabilities and transmitted that information back to human command centers through quantum channels that the aliens couldn't monitor. More importantly, the virus was slowly rewriting fundamental protocols in alien computer systems. The changes were so subtle that Vex technicians wouldn't notice them until it was too late. When the time came for humanity to reveal itself, every alien ship, station, and weapon would find its systems compromised in ways that would give humans decisive advantages in combat. Above ground, the world continued to endure alien occupation with apparent resignation. President Williams signed more treaties transferring Earth's resources to Vex control. News broadcasts showed humans adapting to life under alien rule. The illusion of defeat was maintained so perfectly that even many humans believed their species had truly been conquered, but in the hidden depths beneath their feet, humanity was preparing for war on a scale that would reshape the galaxy. The aliens had given them time to study, to learn, and to build. Soon, Earth would show the Vex Empire what happened when they mistook human patience for human weakness. The underground war was almost ready to surface, and when it did, the skies would burn with alien ships falling like dying stars. The first sign that something was wrong came from the deep scanning arrays monitoring Earth's geological activity. Vex scientists detected massive energy signatures, originating from locations that should have contained nothing but solid rock and mineral deposits. The readings suggested the presence of artificial structures extending miles beneath the surface, structures that hadn't existed in their initial planetary surveys. Commander Kreese studied the anomalous data with growing concern. The energy outputs were consistent with industrial facilities operating at levels that rivaled major Vex manufacturing centers. More troubling still, the signatures were shielded by some form of technology that made precise scanning impossible. His instruments could detect that something enormous existed beneath Earth's crust, but couldn't determine exactly what that something might be. Begin immediate excavation of the Colorado anomaly, Kreese ordered his engineering teams. I want to know what the humans are hiding down there. What the aliens had discovered was the heart of Project Prometheus, a network of underground cities that represented the greatest construction effort in human history. Over the course of decades, vast hollows had been carved from solid rock and reinforced with materials that could withstand the pressure of entire mountain ranges. These spaces housed manufacturing facilities, research laboratories, and military installations that operated in complete secrecy from the surface world. Dr. Brooks walked through the central corridor of the Colorado facility, observing the controlled chaos of final preparations. Thousands of technicians worked to complete weapon systems that would have been considered impossible just months earlier. The fusion of human innovation with alien technology had produced devices that operated on principles neither species had fully understood until they combined their knowledge. The facility extended 20 miles down into the Earth's crust, its deepest levels housing the forged reactors that powered humanity's hidden civilization. These reactors didn't just generate energy, they created it by manipulating the quantum structure of matter itself. The power they produced was clean, nearly unlimited, and completely undetectable from space because it operated in dimensional frequencies that alien sensors couldn't monitor. General Thompson received reports from observation posts as Vex excavation equipment descended toward the facility's outer perimeter. The aliens were using gravity manipulation technology to move massive amounts of rock and soil, but they were about to encounter defenses that would challenge everything they thought they knew about human capabilities. Let them dig, Thompson told his staff officers. It's time they learned what we've really been building down here. The Vex excavation teams worked efficiently, their advanced equipment cutting through solid granite as if it were soft clay. Commander Kreese monitored their progress from orbit, expecting to uncover primitive human bunkers or perhaps crude manufacturing facilities. What his teams actually discovered defied every assumption about human technological development. The first indication of trouble came when the excavation equipment began malfunctioning in ways that violated basic physics. Gravity manipulators suddenly reversed their polarity, sending multi-ton machinery flying through the air. Molecular disintegration tools simply stopped working when they came into contact with certain types of rock. Even more disturbing, the rock formations themselves seemed to respond to the excavation efforts by shifting and changing composition. Dr. Brooks had anticipated this moment for months. The outer layers of the facility were protected by smart materials that could alter their properties in response to external threats. The mountain itself had been transformed into a living defense system that could adapt to any form of attack. What appeared to be natural stone was actually a hybrid organic mechanical substance that could think and respond faster than any alien weapon system. As the Vex excavation reached deeper levels, they encountered chambers that shouldn't have been possible to construct with human technology. Vast spaces stretched for miles in every direction, their walls lined with equipment that hummed with barely contained energy. Most disturbing of all were the launch tubes' perfect cylinders that disappeared into the depths of the earth. Their purpose unmistakably military. Foster led his enhanced soldiers through the facility's defensive positions as proximity alarms announced the approaching alien forces. His modified physique allowed him to leap between platforms 30 feet apart, while his enhanced senses could track multiple targets simultaneously. The weapons he carried appeared crude compared to alien technology, but they had been designed specifically to exploit weaknesses that the Vex didn't know they had. All teams, prepare for surface engagement, Foster's voice echoed through the facility's communication system. The aliens are about to learn that humans don't stay buried. The breakthrough came when Vex forces finally breached the facility's outer shell. What they found waiting for them was beyond their comprehension. The mountain opened like a mechanical flower, revealing launch tubes that stretched down to the planet's core. From these tubes emerged spacecraft that shouldn't have existed, vessels that moved with impossible grace and radiated energy signatures unlike anything in known galactic technology. Commander Kreese watched in stunned silence as his assault. Teams were pushed back by weapons that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Human soldiers moved faster than his tracking systems could follow, while their equipment demonstrated capabilities that exceeded Vex engineering specifications. Most shocking of all was the realization that the primitive human technology was actually more advanced than his own. The first human starship to emerge from the Colorado facility was a masterpiece of hybrid engineering. Its hull incorporated alien materials that had been improved through manufacturing processes the Vex had never imagined. Its power source burned with the intensity of a miniature star, while its weapon systems could manipulate matter at the quantum level. The ship moved through the atmosphere without generating heat or sound, defying every principle of conventional flight. Dr. Brooks stood in the facility's command center, watching as her life's work finally revealed itself to the universe. The ships rising from hidden launch bays represented years of careful planning and impossibly complex engineering. Each vessel was unique, designed for specific combat roles and equipped with weapons that had been tailored to counter known alien defensive systems. Signal all facilities worldwide, she ordered her communication teams. It's time for humanity to introduce itself properly. Across the planet, similar scenes played out as hidden installations revealed themselves. Mountains split open to disgorge fleets of human warships. Ocean floors erupted as underwater facilities launched submarines that could travel through space as easily as through water. The Antarctic ice shelf cracked apart, revealing manufacturing complexes that had been producing weapons of unimaginable sophistication. The Vex orbital fleet suddenly found itself surrounded by an enemy that had emerged from nowhere. Human ships appeared on their sensors faster than their targeting systems could track, moving in formations that violated everything the aliens understood about space combat. Worse still, the human vessels were broadcasting on frequencies that should have been impossible for primitive technology to access. General Thompson's voice reached every alien ship simultaneously, transmitted through communication systems that bypassed Vex security protocols entirely. His message was simple and delivered in perfect Vex. You came to our world expecting to find prey. Instead, you found predators. Welcome to Earth. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity's apparent defeat had been the greatest deception in galactic history. Earth hadn't been conquered, it had been preparing. The underground war was over, and the real battle was about to begin. Above the planet's surface, alien ships prepared to face an enemy that had spent months learning their weaknesses while they remained ignorant of human capabilities. The skies would soon burn with the fury of a species that had been underestimated for the last time. The first human ship to break through Earth's atmosphere moved like liquid lightning, its hull shifting colors as adaptive camouflage systems confused alien targeting computers. Captain Lisa Rodriguez felt the familiar weight of acceleration. As her vessel, the Defiance, climbed toward the Vex orbital fleet with impossible speed. Behind her, dozens of similar craft emerged from hidden launch sites across the planet, their combined energy signatures blazing like newborn stars. Commander Kreese stared at his tactical displays in disbelief as human vessels appeared throughout his fleet formation. The ships moved in ways that violated every principle of space combat he had learned during centuries of galactic conquest. They phased in and out of normal space, appeared simultaneously in multiple locations, and demonstrated acceleration curves that should have reduced their crews to paste against the bulkheads. All ships, open fire, Kreese transmitted to his fleet. Destroy these primitive vessels before they can retreat. The Vex response was immediate and overwhelming. Hundreds of alien warships unleashed energy weapons that could crack planets. Their combined firepower focused on the small human force that had dared to challenge galactic authority. Crimson beams and plasma torrents filled space between Earth and the alien fleet, creating a light show that could be seen from the planet's surface, but the human ships didn't retreat or attempt to evade the incoming fire. Instead, they seemed to welcome it. Rodriguez watched as enemy weapons struck her ship's shields and simply disappeared, their energy absorbed and redirected through systems that Dr. Brooks had designed specifically for this moment. The shields didn't just deflect incoming fire, they converted it into power that made the human vessels stronger. This is the defiance to all alien vessels. Rodriguez broadcast on frequencies that cut through the communication networks like they were children's toys. You thought we were prey because we didn't fight back immediately. You were wrong. We were learning everything about you while you learned nothing about us. The human counterattack began with weapons that the Vex had never seen before. Instead of energy beams or missile systems, the human ships fired projectiles that phased through alien hull armor and exploded from within. The rounds were small, barely visible to sensors, but they carried warheads that manipulated matter at the quantum level. Vex ships began detonating from the inside out as their own hull materials turned. Against them, Rodriguez's tactical display showed the battle developing exactly as the simulations had predicted. Every alien weapon system, every defensive protocol, every evasive maneuver had been studied and countered during months of careful observation. The human ships moved with perfect coordination because they were linked through quantum communication networks that operated faster than light itself. The Vex fleet's numerical advantage meant nothing when their weapons couldn't hit targets that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Human vessels appeared to be in one location while actually occupying another, creating targeting solutions that drove alien computer systems into recursive loops. Worse still, the human ships seemed to predict Vex movements before the aliens themselves knew what they were going to do. Dr. Brooks had achieved this impossible advantage by hacking into the quantum entanglement networks that connected all Vex technology. Every alien ship, weapon, and communication system was linked through subspace channels that allowed instant coordination across galactic distances. What the Vex hadn't realized was that these same channels could be infiltrated by an enemy clever enough to understand their underlying principles. The virus that Dr. Brooks had spent months developing was finally activating throughout the Vex fleet. Alien ships found their weapons targeting their own vessels, their navigation systems providing false location data, and their shields lowering at precisely the wrong moments. The virus didn't just disrupt alien systems, it turned their own technology against them with surgical precision. Foster and his enhanced soldiers watched the space battle from the Colorado facility's observation deck. Even through the mountain's protective barriers, they could see the flashes of light as alien ships died in the vacuum above Earth. Each explosion represented months of planning and preparation finally coming to fruition. The enemy that had seemed invincible was being systematically destroyed by the very species they had thought to enslave. Signal all ground forces, Foster spoke into his communication device. Begin final phase operations. It's time to clean up the stragglers. Across Earth's surface, the alien occupation forces found themselves cut off as their orbital support vanished in balls of superheated plasma. The Vex and Vorth troops that had been maintaining control over human population centers suddenly discovered that their communication links were dead, their reinforcement schedules had been canceled, and their retreat routes had been permanently severed. What happened next would have seemed impossible just hours earlier. The docile human populations that had submitted to alien rule for months suddenly revealed themselves to be trained military forces equipped with weapons that made alien technology obsolete. Every factory worker, every administrative clerk, every apparent collaborator was actually a resistance fighter who had been waiting for this exact moment. The aliens had divided humanity into manageable groups, but those groups were connected by networks that the invaders had never detected. When the signal went out, 10 billion humans moved with perfect coordination to eliminate every alien presence on their planet. The occupation forces that had seemed so dominant found themselves outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1 by an enemy that had been studying their weaknesses for months. In space, the battle was reaching its inevitable conclusion. The Vex fleet that had conquered dozens of worlds was being methodically dismantled by a force less than 1/10 its size. Human ships hunted alien vessels through the orbital debris field, their weapon systems displaying accuracy that seemed supernatural. Every shot found its target, every maneuver achieved its objective, every tactical decision proved correct. Commander Kreese broadcast from his dying flagship as human weapons tore through its hull like tissue paper. His message was transmitted across the galaxy through networks that were already compromised by human intrusion. "This is impossible." His voice carried the weight of absolute disbelief. "Your species was primitive, your technology was crude. How did you achieve such impossible advancement in mere months?" The response came from Admiral Stone, speaking from the command center deep beneath Earth's surface. His words were carried through the same quantum networks that had once coordinated Vex military operations, but now served as conduits for human victory. "We didn't advance our technology, Commander. We advanced ourselves. Every challenge you presented made us stronger. Every world you conquered taught us your weaknesses. You gave us the tools for your own destruction, and we improved them beyond your comprehension." The last Vex ship exploded in a cascade of light that briefly outshone Earth's sun. The orbital fleet that had seemed invincible was reduced to glowing debris scattered across the planet's gravitational field. In less than 6 hours, humanity had transformed from a conquered species into a galactic power that commanded technology beyond anything the known universe had ever seen. The sky above Earth burned with the wreckage of alien dreams, while beneath the planet's surface, human civilization prepared for the next phase of a war that would reshape the galaxy itself. The species that had appeared weak and defeated had revealed itself to be something far more dangerous, patient, intelligent, and utterly ruthless when threatened. The Vex Empire was about to learn what happened when you mistook human restraint for human submission. The escape pods fleeing Earth's orbital zone carried the broken remnants of what had once been the galaxy's most feared military force. Vex survivors transmitted desperate warnings through subspace channels describing an enemy that had appeared from nowhere and demonstrated impossible technological capabilities. Most of their reports were dismissed as combat stress hallucinations until similar messages began arriving from other sectors of Vex space. Dr. Brooks stood in the observation deck of humanity's newest command ship, the Prometheus, watching as Earth receded behind them. The vessel was a masterpiece of hybrid engineering that combined the best elements of human creativity with alien technology, improved beyond anything either species had achieved independently. Around her, dozens of similar ships prepared for jump calculations that would take them deep into Vex territory. Phase transition in 30 seconds. The ship's artificial intelligence announced in a voice that sounded reassuringly human despite being based on quantum processing systems derived from alien technology. All ships report ready for simultaneous jump. The human fleet didn't just travel faster than light, it moved through dimensions that the Vex had never learned to access. While alien ships required weeks to cross galactic distances, human vessels could appear anywhere in known space within hours. This advantage had been gained through months of studying captured Vex navigation systems and improving them using mathematical principles that human scientists had developed independently. Admiral Stone remained on Earth, coordinating the global transformation that was turning humanity's homeworld into the nerve center of a new galactic civilization. The underground cities that had hidden Earth's preparations were expanding rapidly, their populations swelling with refugees from worlds that the Vex had conquered. For the first time in galactic history, a liberated species was offering sanctuary and protection to others rather than seeking revenge. The first Vex core world fell without a single shot being fired. The human fleet emerged from quantum space directly above the planet's surface, their ships broadcasting the same virus that Dr. Brooks had used to infiltrate alien networks. Within minutes, every Vex installation on the planet had lost power. Their weapon systems had shut down, and their communication networks had been completely compromised. Captain Rodriguez led the landing force that took control of the planet's government centers. The Vex officials who had ruled through fear and superior technology found themselves facing soldiers who moved faster than their eyes could track and carried weapons that could selectively target individuals in crowded rooms. The conquest was so swift and efficient that most of the planet's population didn't realize their rulers had changed until human soldiers began dismantling the slave labor camps. Attention citizens of this world. Rodriguez broadcast through the planet's communication systems in multiple languages. You are now under the protection of the Terran Alliance. All forced labor has been abolished. All restriction on movement and association have been lifted. You are free to govern yourselves or request alliance assistance in establishing democratic institutions. The response was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Instead of imposing their own government on conquered worlds, humans offered choices. Species that had been enslaved for generations were given the opportunity to determine their own futures. Those who wanted independence received it, along with protection from future invasion. Those who chose to join the alliance were welcomed. As equals rather than subjects, General Thompson coordinated military operations from the Strategic Command Center that had been built beneath the ruins of the old United Nations building. His holographic displays showed human forces advancing through Vex space with unprecedented speed and efficiency. Every alien stronghold fell within hours of being attacked, their defenses useless against weapons that had been designed specifically to counter their capabilities. The key to humanity's success lay in the fundamental difference between human and alien approaches to warfare. The Vex had conquered through overwhelming technological superiority, using the same tactics and equipment on every world they encountered. Humans analyzed each target individually, developed specific countermeasures for local defenses, and adapted their strategies to exploit unique weaknesses. More importantly, humans had learned to think beyond simple conquest, where the Vex saw resources to be extracted and populations to be enslaved. Humanity saw potential allies and trading partners. The species that had appeared to surrender without a fight was actually building a galactic coalition based on mutual benefit rather than domination through force. The transformation of galactic civilization accelerated as more worlds experienced liberation. The quantum communication networks that had once coordinated Vex oppression were converted into channels for free exchange of information and culture. Trade routes that had carried tribute to alien masters now carried goods and services between equal partners. The galaxy was learning what prosperity looked like when it wasn't built on the suffering of conquered peoples. Dr. Brooks received regular reports from research teams studying alien technology recovered from captured installations. Every discovery revealed new possibilities for improving human capabilities and understanding the universe's fundamental principles. The aliens had possessed individual pieces of advanced science, but they had never learned to combine different approaches into unified theories that could drive revolutionary breakthroughs. We're finding evidence of at least 40 different species that contributed to Vex technology. Brooks explained to Admiral Stone during one of their regular briefings. The aliens were never really innovators. They were collectors who assembled capabilities developed by others. That's why they couldn't adapt when faced with something genuinely new. The war's final phase began when human forces reached the Vex homeworld itself. The planet was defended by every military asset the alien empire could muster, including weapon systems that had never been deployed against lesser species. The defenses were formidable enough to stop any conventional invasion force, but humanity had moved far beyond conventional tactics. Instead of attacking the planet directly, human ships began broadcasting Dr. Brooks' virus through every communication channel the Vex used. The infection spread through their networks like wildfire, rewriting fundamental protocols that had remained unchanged for thousands of years. Within days, the mighty Vex Empire found itself unable to coordinate military operations or maintain basic governmental functions. The surrender came not through military defeat but through technological obsolescence. Vex leaders realized that their entire civilization had become dependent on systems that humans could control at will. Fighting was pointless when the enemy could turn off their weapons, disable their ships, and shut down their infrastructure with simple computer commands. President Williams stood before the newly established Galactic Assembly, addressing representatives from hundreds of worlds that had once lived under alien domination. The Assembly Hall had been built in orbit around Earth, its chambers designed to accommodate the diverse physiological needs of species from across the galaxy. "We never acted powerless," Williams explained to the gathered delegates. "We acted patient. There's a difference between surrendering and preparing. We used the time our apparent defeat gave us to study our enemies, understand their weaknesses, and develop capabilities they couldn't imagine. The galaxy is about to learn what happens when you mistake human restraint for human weakness." The new galactic order that emerged from humanity's victory was unlike anything the universe had ever seen. Instead of replacing one empire with another, humans created a confederation where every species had equal representation and all conflicts were resolved through negotiation rather than force. The technologies that had once been used for conquest were converted to purposes of exploration, research, and mutual prosperity. The Terran alliance grew steadily as more species chose to join humanity's experiment in galactic democracy. Trade flourished between worlds that had never been allowed to interact freely. Scientific knowledge advanced rapidly as researchers from different species collaborated on projects that would have been impossible under alien rule. The galaxy entered an age of unprecedented peace and prosperity years later when historians from dozens of worlds collaborated to write the definitive account of the Liberation War. They would struggle to explain how a single species had transformed galactic civilization in less than a year. The answer lay in humanity's greatest strength, the ability to adapt, learn, and improve under pressure. The aliens had given Earth time to prepare, and humanity had used that time to become something the galaxy had never seen before, a species that conquered through liberation rather than oppression and ruled through service rather than domination.